Last we left off, everyone had encountered a few things. We lost someone, and others were found again. Looking about the city, you had saved it, but with not a price to pay. As people were questioning, wondering, deciding on who to blame, most of the blame was placed upon the outsiders, anyone that wasn't human, as this was primarily, once prior, a human settlement. Now they allowed other people in. The court system right now is a open town hall meeting. Gwen, Bix, Bear, Asara, Mark, and the representatives of the other cities are here to hear the complaints as well as judge verdict on what to do next. Walter had stepped up after, I believe Ramon would like to, or will shout it out for someone to oppose the good everyone has done, and he stepped forwards. Halloween knows that this individual is someone that Gwen listens to, and the people, mostly humans, revere, as he does protect the city, although he doesn't really care for the other races. But he does do his job. Right now, you're in this system, and Ramon has, thanks to your group's endeavors, brought in a large amount of character witness in the other room. While you're not exactly sure who's there, technically, air quotes, you can call on just about anyone you saved in the city, protected, or perhaps through long communication stones, not stones, but bad systems, anyone outside of the city. I believe a few of you made collect calls outside, but if you decide to call them, that is up to you. This is where we left off, after Walter stepped in. A rather frail-looking man, but stern and sturdy, which is contradicted to the same sentence, but regardless of that, he does seem to be rather robust. And my phone just went off. Need to mute that. Anyways, Walter looks at the group, not your group, but the council, and then states, "If it pleases the court, I'd like to step in as the representative of the voiceless." Ramon then states, "It's good to see you again, Walter." What? From that very brief instance, you can tell that Walter is not a fan of Ramon. It's not that hard to see, as Ramon is a, how should I put it? Someone that likes to blend cultures together. Rather than limit oneself, allow others to flow in. Right then. Anyone is able to step up, am I not correct on this? Walter then states. Bix then states, "Yes, that's the entire point of this meeting." Very well then. If it pleases the court and the others around, I would like to start off with the first standby point. Well, sure, there are other races, people, things out there that are able to contribute, able to help the city thrive. It is not necessarily a thing that should be looked for. Oftentimes we find ourselves in a situation where things can go awry if we allow so many inside without clarity rather. So many people need survival, but not everyone needs to come in here so soon. Perhaps we start off with a limitation on who is able to enter inside, or for that matter, clarifying who is actually able to be considered a citizen in this area and who is not. Ramon then states, by the way, feel free to cut in whenever you feel or deem necessary. This is your character listening, so this might all just play out without you talking. Up to you. Ramon then states, "Can you clarify on that? That doesn't seem quite right." He then clarifies, "Right. In order to preserve the understanding of who has come in voluntarily or involuntarily, as sometimes that is wont to do, I propose a indicating mark to represent one such as this. Wouldn't that cause for a little bias towards them? Bias or not, they will be deemed or viewed at first and primarily. As if something like this, something that could destroy the city, we would need to see who outside the city would have contacts with such vigor."
Hattie will chirp in at this point, if she's allowed to, and simply turn to Walter and ask, would this apply for both humans and non-humans alike, or would this simply be a matter of one or the other?
This is a proposal of anyone that's coming into the city, but yes, it would pertain to humans as well.
Nods in agreement. Just simmers back down for the moment.
Gwen then states, "That does seem to be a bit odd. If it doesn't pertain to anyone in particular," he then states, "it does not. Simply the outsiders from the city. Think of it as a stamp if they're here to stay, or if they're here simply to visit outsiders, or other
So
people
what
that
you're
have
saying
come
is
outside.
you want to brand people.
Doesn't necessarily need to be a brand, but some indicating mark, perhaps some sort of tattoo, a necklace, something that we can visibly see to take note and be wary of. Well, I'm not exactly sure who you are, miss. I don't really deal with the parlay, but you do seem to be one of the representatives of the other cities. Wouldn't you agree on this matter, as it would also, this idea could also pertain to your city, perhaps protect it from anyone that comes in that it's not from there?"
Forgive me, Walter, but the plan seems flawed for one very simple reason. It makes it much easier for someone to sneak in and then simply be accepted as a natural person of the city.
And how
They
so?
need no mark. They need no mark. The mark is for newcomers. They come in without mark. They must have been here long time.
I do see your point, young one. Then perhaps we should mark anyone that has already arrived in the city. Anyone that it pertains foreign and the like. I do like the way you think, mister. Ramon then states, "I do not believe that's what he was going for. Regardless of what he was going for, he does present a situational circumstance." Ver then states, "Could you elaborate on that?" "Yes, it's perhaps possible that there are some sleeper agents in the city already. People that have come inside that are just waiting to be called. Anyone foreign from another city, another state, another banding, roaming tribe could perhaps be one of these just biding their time. If this is the case and this gentleman is correct, then perhaps we should mark everyone that has already arrived here that is from outside the city. Human and
The sound of a
non-human alike."
telephone starts playing from the center of the humans.
You mean the sound of a bell, because there's really no phone. Ramon looks over and Walter does state towards the
I'm making it seem like someone's being called, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
I assumed. Yeah, I guess the rest.
Cro-
Go ahead.
Chrome's in the background trying to cover his mouth to show that he's not laughing. But he's really struggling to.
Walter turns around towards the humans and goes, "Can you please silent any ruby technology?" You see 3 humans go for their pockets with the ruby slabs. Do silent them and then go back to the area.
When just one of them in particular silences it, I'll stop to make it seem like it was them.
You see one of the men, this one in particular, kind of looks super embarrassed. The person next to them goes, "Really? Did you really have to turn that on? Sorry, thought I needed thought I turned it off. Anyways, Walter then continues.
Kayla's gonna turn hers to vibrate.
It's Hollywood.
Anyways, Walter then states, this gentleman does propose a situation that could possibly be true. Perhaps different indicating markers on who is newly arrived and who has already arrived.
Do you have an idea of how do you prevent a forgery?
A simple indication marker, something that a clergyman, he's looking at you and there's something off about his gaze. He's not really looking at you, just through you, if that makes sense.
Try not to make eye contact.
Sort of, yeah. Go ahead and roll insight if you'd like, but yeah.
I'm good at those.
From what you can tell, he's looking at your direction, but not really looking at you. But I continue. Some clergymen are able to do this, some other magi as well. They are markers that magic can be inscribed in.
Alibu will speak up and just turn to him and just say, for the benefit of everyone here, I think the information of what we're dealing with should be known, or at least the basics. What we're dealing with is someone with very powerful magic. If we're going via magical means, I doubt that this is a very safe system. But if we're going by physical means, we're still running into the situation of forgery. Both ways seem to have their own flaws.
Additionally, the city has had recent problems with counterfeiting of magical items.
Quite.
Another problem you seem to be running into is not everyone trusts the clergy of this city.
Azara then states that is quite correct. It has been proven from time to time that the R&D department has found centrifuge spies within, people that have double-crossed or has given information to another individual. Take for the example an incident that happened a few months ago with one Percival of the House Barovia, where entities did prevent his escape to his homeland, but in the end we were never able to capture or interrogate anyone else associated, as he was found murdered within his cell. Who's to say that the security system within their own police system has not in itself been corrupted? If Walter's proposing something like this, perhaps we should look into the matter of replacing our current policing system within the city. Bix then states, could you clarify on that? That would pertain to my division as well. Yes. Perhaps looking into people we can trust or people we can depend upon. People that have devoted themselves rather than... No, that's not the proper term. People we know that can do their job. Perhaps without the need for their own intellect. I'm afraid I'm not following. Think of it this
She's
way.
talking constructs.
Yes, that could be a interesting topic on that, but I am also speaking about things that wouldn't need to be conscious at the moment. Are you talking about perhaps people that are persuaded to do this? Persuaded, enchanted, whatever you will. Let's consider the fact that people do pose a problem. Humans, non-humans alike. We could bring in those willingly, or perhaps those volunteering to do so, to go into a state of unconsciousness, allowing their bodies to do the job without their minds. Therefore, allowing no centrifuge within your organization, and including your military bits, into this matter.
Who's proposing this idea?
Asara.
who simply stands up for a second and looks over to Azara. Another point I would like to make about our recent attack is the best way to describe it. We've learned some information that the leader of this attack also deals with this kind of situation. He charms people to do his bidding. So while I'm not saying it's not an effective mean, if anything goes wrong in our system, say he counter-charms and gets them on their side, what's stopping the people that were previously charmed from causing an uprising once they get their consciousness back?
Or what if he simply charms the person who does the mind washing?
You do see that the drow woman does not raise her hand, but in a gauntish way brings it up. She does state, I do see your point. However, perhaps my city could also help in this matter. Azara then states, can you elaborate? Yes. We have charms that, when placed upon someone, they could do a variety of things. If someone is counter-charmed or the like, or if someone tries to dispel the charm, it could simply go off and kill the person, allowing no centrifuge to be set in motion.
But allowing for the entire city's police force to be killed in a single stroke.
If
Left
they
us
had that
vulnerable.
power to interact with the entire police force all at once, they would be able to do that regardless of these charms. Sir.
Okay, well, the point still stands that if all it takes is a counter charm to kill a police officer,
It would require a very powerful counter charm. And not many people would have this, as I'm sure you're aware. The only individuals that would likely be able to do this, I suppose, are the current people within the R&D department, as well as the police. Walter then states, you do have a point. I suggest we vacate the police task force for the moment. Allow Bix and his men to police and quarantine everyone and make sure, for the time being, they do not get rowdy. You do see that some of the crowd does cause some commotion in this, but Walter then states, now, I'm not saying you can't do your everyday duty, do your job and the like, but don't wander around back alleys in the middle of the night. Don't go into the sewer system and collect your debts. Don't wander off outside of the city. This is not something that limits your abilities, but rather make sure that everyone is safe.
Rome at this point takes a step into the middle and just goes, may I have a word? Something's been on my mind and I just simply want to voice it out.
Gwen then
Just
states,
something.
you may do so.
Oh, we're talking about sabotages and this and that and charming people and possible slavery. But there has been a simple question on my mind. One that seems to be not really touched upon. We're talking about outsiders possibly having something to do with this, but no one's mentioned the idea that maybe insiders might have a key role in this as well. I mean, think about it. We have a human city that, well, as far as I know, has not been the best of known to treat non-humans wisely. Perfect opportunity to sabotage what little ties there were, set paranoia in one another, that sort of thing. You already distrusted each other.
what better way to bring a city to its knees than divide it?
As you say this, actually, yeah, I'll give Halloween persuasion. With
This is Chrome.
Oh, this is Chrome. My
Yeah, this
bad.
is Chrome in the background.
I had the camera in the way forwards. Okay. As you say this and get advantage because Byroth is trying to help you. Technically, go ahead and roll persuasion.
Oh, please, Chrome. Okay. Oh, advantage. Oh, Jesus.
You do see that some people in the crowd are listening to you, but most of the human side isn't really listening, if you will. While some of them do nod in agreement, some just simply shout, "Do you really think we're that stupid? I agree. Who would be so arrogant? The humans and everyone else, if you will, have to live. If someone that were to do this, it's clear the outside." You then hear some of the people from the left side.
Chrome turns to the people that are saying it's clear the outside and just simply says, "Do we have any evidence on either side being responsible?" As revealed, because I would certainly like to know about it. As far as I know,
Yeah,
you're
but-
simply calling each other by names by this point.
That is fair enough, mister. Walter then states, "Then I suppose the evidence should come to light." Ramon then states, "I believe that is also, in proper terms, correct. I do have key witnesses and the like as well. I have my own in turn." Very well then, perhaps we should take turns, if you will. Very well, I see no objection to this. The left side can take their turn and the right side will take theirs. Is that fair enough for you? That's quite alright. Claire then states, "Would you like to go first?" "It is preferable, but you may go in turn and I can rebuttal on this." Why is Walter's icon broken?
Broken like his viewpoints.
Possible.
Yeah, there's a joke to be made about all the humans being on the right wing of this place.
I mean, because I grabbed the humans and put them down there first, and then the rest. But yeah, sure. Okay. So here's how this is gonna work. On Ramon's side, anyone from the left side or anyone that wants to chime in once it's his turn, air quotes, can bring in character witnesses, can speak about incidents that happen in the city. Once it hits Walter's turn, anyone that wants to speak can, but would have to be on the opposite viewpoint. More than likely, NPCs will be brought into this, or perhaps Caitlin. Who knows?
don't bring me into that. I don't want to have to get up out of my chair.
I need a question answered right now. Would Chrome technically be on the Walter side of things because he's still kind of an NPC at this point?
You can run not Walter. You can run Chrome how you choose. In turn, Puppet can also be run any way they choose.
Okay.
Also, I noticed that you have 2 other NPC / characters there. They can chime in as well.
Okay. Only one was really ever going to chime in. The other one was just there for character flavor.
That's fair. All right. Basically this is how it's gonna work. Ramon goes over to the left. Walter goes over to the right. They're gonna state, "Does anyone have something to say?" If no one does, Ramon then makes his argument, and then it switches over to the next group.
Just like to kind of whisper to Ramon. So the druids or whatever that maintain the chains, as it were, are they something people know about? Could we call them? Are they all human?
That is probably not something you want to do.
Okay, just checking.
Walter then states, "All right then. Miss Claire, as you are the daughter of the director, I suppose you can be the mediator between these two groups. Alright then. If everyone's ready, you may proceed. Ramon, you have the floor. Alright then. Does anyone have anything to say?
I want to say something so bad, but it'd be so bad if I said this for our side. But I want to say it so bad. My 2 minutes of law makes me have to. So I'm going to say it. I would like to call something to light. This isn't a really biased mediator now, is it?
Walter does state, regardless of her incidents with the director of Section 9, or regardless of her, how should I put it, favor with the director of the police, she is in turn a practicing lawyer. She is in turn a practicing director initiative. She is regarded as one of the acting council members, but is not on the council for her own concern. While she is not someone I enjoy the company of, Walter states, she is not biased in things. If you would like someone else, we can do so. But Miss, still looking at you, but not really looking at you, you are not part of the city, but if anyone else raises this, you might hear ambulances in the background, concern, you may do so. As you look around, you don't really see anyone fighting against this. You do see some people arguing in the human side. You do hear some people on the left side as well. But people seem to trust Claire. You can roll insight to try to guess why, but it's up to you if you want to or not.
No need. I have my own headcanon on it.
Okay. But no one really raises their hand to object. Alright then. Proceed, Mr. Ramon. Alright. Does anyone have anything to state? Alright.
Beyond the obvious, Section 9 exists for a reason, because regular human police force cannot do certain things. So you need us.
He then states, what Sir Byroth raises does have a valid point. Many of the humans within the vicinity, many of the people outside of the city itself, do not possess magical abilities, or at least do not possess high quantity magical abilities. It raises the point that humans, while don't really have these abilities, still require them, and so do the other races on a day-to-day basis. Right now we are nearly on par with scientific advancements, but we still require the raw power, the source, if you will, of this magic. I come to terms in this stating that the others, or the outsiders as you so plainly call them, are needed in the city, are required, and in turn they are people that belong here. He then steps back. Mr. Walter, you have the floor. Right. Well, my colleague, if you so choose to call him that, does raise a point. He does not raise a good one. Yes, we could use magical abilities on the day-to-day basis. Some of them even power our devices, things we do from day to day. But that is not really what we need. What we need is a way to live. And in turn, can we really safeguard against everything? Or can we make things simpler and dispose of the things we don't? I propose perhaps a working system that allows the other races to come in and provide a power source for us, or perhaps some sort of labor work. In turn, they can perhaps pay their way into some sort of status or become full-fledged citizens. Wouldn't that be grand?
What of those in the slums?
The slums
Those who
themselves,
can't contribute as much as the people who have higher level magic, say the people who study at the school here.
the slums themselves have their own protector.
Chrome again chirps up with a simple comment of, isn't it a bit too late to talk about wanting to live a simpler life with this sort of threat upon us? Along with the fact that you talk about keeping the outsiders, as he uses quotation marks, at bay, you do realise that people such as myself, that are humans that come into this city, are classed as outsiders as well.
And if you value people only by their ability to provide you with a magical battery, wouldn't humans rank the lowest?
In these terms, you are correct. But they already are from here. They originated from here. They have descendants. I believe that they've more than proven enough, wouldn't you say? Their families, their families' families, their fathers have already worked to the bone. Wouldn't you agree?
A person's worth isn't raised by what their family did, it's raised by what they do. If you simply look to what someone else did for someone else's work, you're going to misjudge people.
Just as the crimes
That's
of the
Chrome
father
saying
are
it.
not the just as the crimes of the father are not the crimes of the son, so too goes loyalty.
What is your name, sir? Looking behind the right side, looking towards Chrome.
Delacroix, at your service, as he tips his hat.
Well then tell me, Sir Chrome, has there ever been someone that's helped you, protected you, provided you a service, helped you survive? Have you ever had someone that has done this for you?
I've had a couple, yes, but they've had to earn my trust first, via their own individual...
Exactly. By that own statement, you have proven my point. The humans,
Sure.
or the non-humans that have been descended from this area, have already proven their worth. You hear the right side state, yeah, that's right, we've already been here, we've already done this, our parents have done this. And in turn, they have already pledged their loyalty to the city. As in turn, people from your past have pledged their loyalty to you and protected you, guided your way.
First off, I would like to bring up my previous argument of the fact that we still have no evidence that the human side isn't playing a part in it. You seem to be giving a lot of loyalty to things that haven't been cleared yet. What I'm saying right now is that...
Go ahead.
Carry on.
Oh, I was going to say on that, Claire the State, as this point has been rebutted, we would like to turn over to Ramon. Right. Does anyone have anything to say?
Ali, we would like to step up, and
yes.
she will simply turn to everyone and say, as she looks to Caitlin and to everyone else that fought during this horrific attack, I would like to thank you personally. It's only risking your life, or potentially your life, to protect this city, but also doing what needed to be done. However, I would like to state to the Queen right here and now that there's been some information about the attack that I need to discuss with you later. However, I can bring it up now, if you would like.
If it pertains to this incident or this situation, any believe it'll help your case, you may do so. Otherwise, if it is a state secret, then please present it after this case is done.
Aliwu will simply turn to the human side. Leader of this operation is someone that, for we have heard about and we have been keeping a low track on. I would like to give an example of the first case we heard about. This person was on a case where was it a human that was trying to sell people to Lynn along with drugs and that?
You talking about the nobleman we captured?
Yeah.
It was the moment.
He was a human.
The Moravian.
He looked human, but Halawu, you know that he is a. What are those fox people called? A what?
Kitsune?
Oh yeah, he just looked surprisingly, startlingly human.
Okay. Then I would like to bring it up as an example of the first time we encountered this situation, which was in dealing with a former Kitsune nobleman that was well known, let's say, in my country, who was currently trying to reform ties to my country via slavery and drug cartel. And from that, we heard our first connection to this person, who they would know goes by magic. So, while I would like to state that I'm not undermining the attack here, I would like to also bring to the court that maybe this isn't the only place he's targeting. She looks to the other people on the stand.
You do hear some low whispers. Anyone above 15 can hear Vera and Asaras stating, this is possible. Perhaps similarly the other cities are in danger as well. Maybe that's why they have some other people here, in case they are to plan something. Mark and Asara, Mark then states to those two, it is possible that they are simply centrifuging this situation, orchestrating it, if you will. Perhaps as a distraction towards the other cities, perhaps something else. Then you hear a few people in the right crowd then state, first a human male states, you see that? She admitted it. Her own city came in here and killed so many of us. You then hear a woman state, they even took some of our people, enslaved them. And you say
Haliwu
outsiders are responsible.
Haliwu looks pissed right now, turns to the court, or to the human side, and just goes, let me reiterate what happened. Someone that was well known or infamous on art from my country was trying to reclaim his title, one that he had previously lost for this kind of thing, and the people he was taking were my people. Thank you very much.
As you say that, Orchard does look towards the humans. You can tell that they respect him enough that they, after a while, quiet down, but then turning towards you, Halawu, he does state, while this is a tragic loss for your people, I am sure. Regardless of the matter, he was an outsider, and as Chrome would have illustrated, he needed proof, and this is slight proof, if you will, that an outsider has gone into the city and enacted his own gravitas to deal with his own situation, not considering the city, but himself. On that, we
Can
can
I ask-
at least agree on this.
There is another case I would like to bring up regarding ties. More of a situation where I will admit firsthand that I'm not going to clarify as solid evidence. During the attack, there were these... The best way to describe them are anti-magic bombs scattered around the city that my team had collected and showed upon me. And from my own personal knowledge, there are only a couple people or individuals that would have this kind of power. And I would like to clarify that one of these people that I have heard possibly has had this kind of power is the Black King himself.
We
hear
do
some
have
whispers within
one
the
of-
council.
We do have one of these devices available for examination, currently held in an extra dimensional space.
Claire then states, as Ramon has stated his case, we turn over to Walter. On the turnover, however, Bix does state, on the topic of bombs, Claire then states, I'm afraid we can't continue this topic unless Sir Walter continues it himself in turn. He sits back down. Walter then states, I would like to get a clearer topic or viewpoint on this, but that what you're saying is a danger. I and my men had encountered beings of fire burning the city and going around these spirit forms. Many humans aren't able to do this. I take to the court that people from not this city, or perhaps people that came into the city and learned magic from the school, let's give your viewpoint credit at least, looking towards Ramon's side, might have some merit, perhaps. We're able to summon these creatures and spread them out. I assume the fires were a diversion, but nonetheless, me and my men did take some out. But we did encounter others that fought alongside us. Yes, even people from outside of the city. Yes, even the voluntary fire brigade. And this one strange woman, what presumably could be defined as flying from building to building, cutting up these creatures and setting these fires at rest. But nonetheless, if what you're saying is true, and these bombs were placed around the city, what for? As we did have various people clearing out. Anyone that wasn't capable of fighting were cleared out into safe zones, allowing them to be teleported once the shield went down.
Chrome
Good.
Chrome would pack up again. He's just like, not to be a constant bother over here, but didn't you say before that you had some technology that relied on magic? Perhaps that.
Have things that rely on magic, but not so much that bombs are placed around the city would interfere so greatly. Not unless there's something else. Looking around and looking at the council, that is hidden from us, is there? Bix then states, regardless of that matter, now that the topic has been placed again, can you bring out one of these supposed bombs?
I take one out of my bag.
Okay, there's a bomb. I'm gonna step back.
Lulu is flinching and looking away from it.
As you do, you see Bix get up, go over.
He jumped over the goddamn table.
Yeah, he did. Do you mind?
No, I hand it to him.
He
Best to keep magic away from that.
gets it. I don't do magic.
I'm covered in the stuff I'm getting away from.
Fair enough.
The bird flies away.
You do see that he brings out what appears to be a magnifying glass. But one of those, what's it called, diamond jeweler ones. Looking upon it, he does state, it does have some sort of anti-magical field scenario. It cuts off any magic within one's body. Ultimately, though, what that would do to normal people, it was either cut them off from magic entirely and since some of our life force in itself is magical, would likely either, for most of us, kill us or damage us severely. Unless treated extremely quickly. But as Walter had stated, many people were in safe sanctuaries. So doing that would do little to nothing unless...
Chrome perks up again. Except the police department. Ones that would most likely be handling these bombs. Do you not agree?
He then looks over to Gwen, and she does state the police are able to handle these situations, but not in turn, or at least not alone. That would require people from outside sources, people that don't use magic or people that safeguard from magic. Walter then states, on that topic, it was clear and evident that many people were running away, and many of these spirits weren't targeting the school for one, your castle for another, and the police department for another. Perhaps these places were safeguarded so well, but if they were so safeguarded so well, why didn't your police help further that? Claire then states, thank you for your time. We will turn over to Ramon. Ramon then states, anyone ready to speak?
Question for Walter, if I might. How long must you live in the city before you're no longer considered outside? By your reckoning.
By my reckoning, it does not matter. It is the council. But if I had to give a estimate, perhaps at least 1/10 of your being's life. For humans, perhaps 10 years. For, let's say, elves, 100. Once you come of age, or at least when you're able to take care of oneself. I don't know what you are, sir, but perhaps your being has something else.
Ramon, would it be possible to call Penny to the stand?
Yes. Alright. If you may, I'd like to call in a character witness, one Penny. You then hear Gwen hit the gavel, and magically she is there, because, well, I didn't really tell you what the other room does, but that's fine.
It does that.
Basically, yeah. She's currently eating a sandwich. Puts it away. What's up?
Hello, Penny. Sorry to bother you. Just a few quick questions. You're not human, are you?
No.
No. And how long have you lived in the city now?
About half of a year.
Okay. And on the night of the attack, what were you doing?
I was fighting giants, got back into the city a little earlier than that, and then started fighting fires.
That's right. I mean, fighting fires is a bit modest, isn't it, Penny? You put out a substantial portion of the city almost on your own, didn't you?
I mean, I had help with like a small handful of people and this blue tiefling dude.
And most of the people that were helping you were, shall we say, non-human?
Yeah, I'd say so. About a handful were human, but not a lot.
Okay, thank you, Penny.
Yeah. You then hear Gwen hit the gavel again and she disappears.
Now, far be it from modest Penny to say how instrumental she was in putting out the fires, but I think Anyone who was there will know that without her the city would still be on fire. By your reckoning, Walter, she is an outsider.
She is indeed, and she is useful, which is why you have already stated my point yet again.
And you think these useful people will just stay in your city, treated as second-class citizens, wearing a brand on their arm that says not good enough yet?
While I do pertain to your viewpoint, I will illustrate and again reiterate my point. They can work this off to mitigate time. Perhaps you are not really listening or don't want to listen to another viewpoint. As you stated
No,
yourself,
your viewpoint
she
states that a
is Claire that
100-year-old
states,
elf.
I am sorry, but he does have the floor. Walter then
Shoot me in.
states, while she is useful, as you have stated yourself, she can easily work off the time within perhaps even a month or two. So what is
Truly?
1 month or two of safeguard being within a city that can protect you? 2 months of work seems rather little to anyone, including the human race.
Didn't you say you
Right.
have to be using 10% of your lifespan to stay in the city?
And as I stated before, if you are capable of reducing the time to near nothing.
Rome perks up again. Sorry, I'm coming a common appearance right now. Not to dampen on your opinion, I do agree with it on some behalf, but I do have to question, what about the people that aren't physically able to work? The disabled, the mentally handicapped? Are they just not allowed in your city anymore? Are you exiling those that are simply incapable of participating in physical labor?
My dear, there are different ways that other people can help. Do you believe that they are not capable of doing other things? Or are you suggesting that I believe that?
I'm suggesting that all I've heard so far is labor. I haven't heard any other propositions.
There's more than
Labor
one
to most people.
kind.
Most people usually associate it with the physical labor. If we can come to agreement of what kind of work would come to hand, it would be a bit more, let's say, light-hearted on the people that are forced underneath it if they know exactly what they're getting themselves into.
Ramon on that does state this again. While young Chrome is correct, the endeavors that you, let's say, subscribe to do have holes, and unfortunately that can pertain to situations that can be misused or abused. Unfortunately, that has been historical within this city, as the governing laws have been written for humans, and humans in turn have used them against non-human races. I propose that we should talk, but not so much in the topic of enslavement or something similar. Thank you. Now we proceed to Walter's turn. Walter looks at his crowd, and then you do hear actually someone else from his side stand. I'm just gonna stand him and put him to the side because it's easier to see him that way. Looking at the rest of you, looking at his own people, if you will, he does look over to the council and then state, "What it is clear that others, humans and the like, are capable of protecting the city. They do raise a good point. People that aren't capable of moving, people that aren't capable of magic or capable of fighting or doing manual labor do pertain a disadvantage in this topic that we're discussing. I propose we situate them in a different category, if you will. If they aren't really a threat within the matter, they could perhaps be considered how should I put it? Go on. Some sort of, a familiar state, if you will. If someone from the city, perhaps that has already been established, takes them in, they are simply mitigated into a different category, not being allowed to be considered an outsider, but perhaps an adopted member of the family. That way, anyone that deems them needing a protection would be allowed to. But maybe limiting it to maybe 10 people, or as many as you could perhaps protect or raise. And he sits back down.
I don't want to be a dick.
Can if you like.
Okay.
Okay. Go for it.
Chrome steps into the middle again. I do have one final question. And believe me, Mr. Walter, it's not on your side for once. As he turns to Ramon. Are you a part of the R&D department? I'm pretty sure is the name of it.
I am.
Well, on the attack, I would like to admit right now I did a little bit of investigation on my own. More so just trying to figure out what was going on. My spouse might have been in danger, just trying to get clear of all the things that were happening. And there was one rumor I would like to bring to the court that did make me question. Apparently, from, as I say, only rumors, there seemed to be a corpse of a young child. One that had what I would presume to be one of your badges on it? Or taken away from it? Is it false? And if so, what do these badges particularly do? Are they any significant importance?
I'm afraid this is the first time I'm hearing of it. The badges themselves are able to communicate with one another, are able to allow you access to the research and development building, but only... And then thinking back, Actually, any of you can think back, but he will state the obvious. Even if you don't. But thinking... Go ahead.
I was just about to say, Hadley just looks confused.
Thinking back on it, he does look grim. And then Claire does state, do you have a talking matter on this? Possibly. It is potentially possible that one of the acting members of the Research and Development Department had either gone rogue or simply lost their badge. Can you reiterate on this matter? We had 2 individuals within my group that were different, or at least, unfortunately, not who they say they were. One primary candidate was an individual that I hired. Yeah, he does. That turned out to be a not quite so well-to-do person. He had, in fact, was one of the people from the people that attacked us. You then hear the humans, well, the humans on the right, begin to talk, shout. You then see Claire goes, Ramon does have the floor, and you do see them quiet down. This individual categorized himself as Rocks, but prior to this identity was known as Gavin. It's potentially possible that his badge was either taken or redistributed somehow. Another individual, while he was pertaining to this group, Section 9's Group 10, was a bodyguard of his. I was never able to really retrieve his badge back, but it's potentially possible he lost it and the child found it, which could have led to this situation.
Then, it seems that we have more or less a possible lead. Perhaps now we can, for the most part, put this dispute about non-humans and humans aside and turn to the more pressing issue about how something like this can happen with the police department of all places.
You can roll persuasion, but you kind of persuaded on the other side.
Wait, Chrome, what the fuck?
I'm not gonna give you disadvantage, but I'm not gonna give you advantage either. You do hear some of the people on the left side agree and nod, and like 1 or 3 people on the right, but most of them seem to be really wanting to talk and state, see, I told you, these people clearly. But then you do see Walter look at the group and they stop. And then Claire does state, regarding this matter, I believe that is it. Sir Walter, you do have the last statement.
Chrome will simply bow to Sir Walter and to Ramon and then simply go back and say, I won't disturb you this time unless I really feel like it. And leans back against the wall.
Right. Now then. First, Ramon, I would like you to bring up any evidence you have, and then in turn, I will bring in mine. Is that really necessary? This is your last arguing statement. Yes, I believe it is appropriate. Wouldn't you agree? Looking towards the council and then looking towards Claire. Claire then turns to Gwen and the rest of her council seat. This could perhaps be determining the factor of the case. Perhaps we should listen to one side's full argument and then the next, allowing both sides and parties to give their entire speech. One side can give it without argument, and the other side in turn can give speech without argument. And then perhaps the council in its entirety, including perhaps the representatives, if you so choose, Lady Gwen, to advise on this matter as well. Gwen then states, yes, this is possibly the best option. We will reveal the situation tomorrow, but the points must be made today. Claire then states, very well then, Ramon and anyone else deciding to choose to come forward with any evidence they have, please proceed. You may have a recess of 10 minutes and then return.
I do actually have to be.
Go for it.
What happened to their table?
I don't know. Oh, that's right. I didn't have enough tables, so I just put them in the corner.
Damn, rest in peace, Rexler.
Make sure to get that bomb back and put it safely away in my bag.
Are they only asking for evidence or are they asking for statements?
Statements or evidence, anything that could pertain to that side, to your side.
We will stand up next to Ramon then and just stay there until it comes to their side.
Okay. Rauta, you see Bix give you back the bomb.
Time to use Mage Hand again to cause chaos? No!
Okay. Kaylin, you do see a mage hand currently poking at your side, and then
No, I was lying.
Oh, okay.
Do it.
Puppet, is there anything you're doing?
Nope.
Outside of game, is this another character that can't physically speak or chooses not to physically speak?
No, they can.
Okay, just
They've
wanted to
spoken
know.
in the past.
Just want to say for character reasons, Chrome the entire time has had a shit-eating grin on his face.
I would assume. But basically, Claire can intervene in this matter, but because she's technically the representative of both parties / the city. But anyone else you decide to call in can present their case. You have a collected gaggle of people. Anyone you can choose to call in, but for brevity's sake, let's round it down to 5. So you can call in anyone from any team, but it's one single individual, not the entire party. So, for example, in each table, that is one team, and you can call in one individual from each. Up to
Please,
5.
no one bring in fucking
Hey,
Gem.
looks like we don't have to bring in Bella. Because Bella's a part of the Cove team. You're probably gonna call in Cove.
We vote in Dropkick's fucking character's husband.
No!
Yeah.
It's fine, I don't even know about him Dropkick.
Listen,
The only
if you
fucking
do end up
character
calling
that
him in, it's gonna. It's not gonna be even anything about the case anymore. It's just gonna be Caitlyn versus him for like.
Oh,
a
that's
good
my daughter.
amount of time.
That's my daughter.
Just yelling at him.
Let's do it. No.
He likes Spyro. Presumably.
That's because he doesn't know you're a furball yet.
Oh god.
Oof.
But yeah, as a collective, you can choose 5 people, one person from any table, but not 5 people from any individual table.
For mine, I vote for both.
It seems like the annoying thing is that, we're just gonna call people that are gonna be like, yeah, fucking non-humans are indispensable, and the one guy's gonna go, yeah, that's why we should use them, like, as hard as we can.
You also have ties to people outside of the city that could perhaps provide evidence on your term and case.
It's fucking Caitlyn calls in the head honcho of Noche, just goes to sit down.
Oh, Jade, come here for a second. No, a fucking Lynn.
I mean, potentially, but you would need to call in the head of the magic school in order to contact Lynn.
Can I get in my entire fucking circus?
I don't have tokens for them, but yes.
God.
Just to remember that really friendly guy from the enemy team. Can we call him in?
You don't have his number, so
Will.
He never hit me back up? Gosh darn.
not yet.
So it's like an in-character 10-minute recess, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically. Also outside
Caitlyn's
of
gonna take out her
character-
tablet and start typing.
Okay. So yeah, you guys can choose. No rush.
Yeah, who do we want to bring in?
would
Puppet
say
air
that-
quotes can also choose, but technically it's Rex.
I would say that we should have someone from Section 5.
Okay.
It's
Probably
gonna
They
be
are-
in here.
purple hair.
No, not Gen!
I'm voting for
Claire.
Claire.
Please.
Claire.
What about Bleep?
We can vote in Bleep and that for the school. Because I was going to have one of my characters perk up by saying that technically the school did get attacked.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something like that too, because that's where I mainly focused my defense on.
Yeah, the school was attacked but not set on fire. There were specific wording on that. But so far I
I
have...
don't know. I would rather have fire than giants any day.
So far, I have a vote for Claire, vote for Cove, vote for Bleep.
I want Sullivan.
Bring in Rexler.
No, I don't want to voice that. Nor do I remember the voice.
I got it. Vote for Rexler.
Yay. I want Sullivan.
Vote for Sullivan.
You're just causing your own problems now.
Correct, but I'm the
gonna be
only one who could possibly call him in, and,
I was
and if
about
he
to say
doesn't
you-
argue with Caitlyn, he's useful.
No, you're just gonna fucking end court right there and then because it's just gonna end when you two start fucking arguing with one another because it's gonna be like, no, you said.
Any other votes?
Well, the reason why I want to call in Sullivan is because he's like the elvish side of this whole thing, and he's been like targeting the more longer-lived races more than anything. So elves live pretty long time.
I
Yeah.
think we bring in Holly.
She's got a gun. Get her.
Vote for Holly. Oops.
Holly was at one of the protected areas. Also, isn't she a detective?
She is. She has
Yeah, so-
actually her own evidence, but you never went back to her, so she never gave it to you.
I want
So-
Hugh in here.
Vote for Hugh.
I don't know who that is, but you know,
That's the isn't that one of the people that Holly fought with?
He was part of the Wetworks team.
yeah. Now I really want him in.
Oh, she fought with them, aka like one of them saved them because she got hit by a fucking giant bat.
Yes.
They were just like, hey, do you trust me? And she was just like, are you teleporting me? Yeah, just teleport me. I know how this works.
Yeah, that was Viola.
And is it possible to call on some representative Noche besides Caitlyn, because she'd obviously be biased?
Are you
Uh,
sure
I
that's
mean-
a good idea?
I'm pretty biased towards Noche.
Noje does have a central hub, so you are able to contact them.
A good idea after the last time we encountered them.
I mean, nothing
First
wrong with
time we
Noche.
gave
Don't worry
up on-
about it.
Not Noche itself, it's just how we last encountered them. We nearly left without giving them a sacrifice.
No, but
I-
then we did.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out, I guess. I'm gonna call Penelope as well.
Your daughter?
Yeah,
Correct.
that's weird. You can't. We can only have 5 people up there.
I thought it was from one person per table.
You're picking a pool of 5 from these representatives. One person per table, but right now you're just choosing who to pick. So we'll run it
Honestly, I
down
don't
like
really have
this.
that.
If I can, I will ask if they can get someone in Lynn government in, because Harry specifically wants to ask them if there's been any more so like to magic in Lynn itself.
Any what?
Any cases tied to a person named Magic, or with any like similarities between this attack that they've.
So you're asking if someone from that city has encountered them?
Someone from Lynn has heard of any cases of similar behavior, basically.
In order to do that, you would need to contact the headmaster. In order for him to contact the city, you do have 10 minutes. So if your air quotes character runs over there and does it, and runs back,
I
you could do
I can
it.
teleport.
Oh yeah, then you're fine. So yeah, doing that, you do teleport to this outside of the school, because the school is technically protected from teleportation barriers. Well, little symbols in the area. Halloween never took classes there, so she wouldn't know. But basically, it's to safeguard from anyone teleporting themselves into the classrooms in case they were ever tardy.
Yeah.
But going in there, you're easily able to find them within the like 5 minutes. He's not that hard of a person to find. You contact your home. You would need to pick someone specific, otherwise you wouldn't able to contact a random person.
So, do you know the place I'm from? Is that a big city or is it just more so a little city? It's not the capital or anything, is it?
Are you talking about
I believe
Babylon?
his specific hometown, yeah, Babylon.
It is big, but it is not the capital.
She would contact the capital head if she can.
Of your city?
And yeah.
It is one of your master's friends. Let's see here, looking at my notes. So you've met them here and there. Let's see here. You know them as Archibald Ivis.
Archibald Ivis?
Yes, he is a, what's it called again? Fire Genasi.
And Harry will simply explain the situation and also explain the case that she was on. Basically explain that she is a part of the police department and explain the case that she was on concerning the situation with Lynn and the information she got about it, and if he would be willing to come on court or disclose any information with a witness to claim that she is telling the truth if there's been any cases surrounding either someone associated with someone called Magic or any associations with the Black King that have popped up or any situation with like cases of anti-magic bombs. She will describe the road people as well, stuff like that. Also the Vanguard she will voice out.
As you say the word magic, you can see he's now on screen, Archie for short. He does state there have been cases of this individual known as Magic. I'll look into this matter. I do have some things I can state in your court if you'd like, but it will have to be through projection of voice, I'm afraid.
We will simply explain the situation that's going on, basically explaining that right now they're trying to put more or less put a target on non-humans, and just explain how the entire court session's gone so far, and basically say that her plan was to, if there was any cases, bring to light that it's not just the city possibly being under attack, instead of used as distractions.
Then perhaps you could gamble on something then. Not in a way of gambling your own lives away, but in such a fact, the same thing. 20 years ago, roughly, give or take a few years, there was an individual known as Magic in my time when I was still adventuring. He and a bag of rogues were formed underneath an individual that we've never were able to find. He went by Elusive. He ran in his own gang, trying to defeat, and us in turn trying to be an individual known as Mother. She formed and forged her own Aasimar tiefling army, able to bind the two bloods together. We were never able to find this army, but we were able to burn her to the ground. But Magic, as his leader, helped us, went our separate ways, as that was our treaty with them. I pertain to you that perhaps you gamble on finding these people, these group. If you do have the name known as Vanguard, perhaps you could pin it on them, as more than likely they are the key factors of this. Do you tell him everything that's happened in the court?
Yep, I tell him everything. I also tell him information about the attack that I haven't disclosed to the court yet. AKA, like, specifics about they were here to destroy research, apparently, and Black King involvement, that sort of thing.
Then perhaps have people volunteer on this. I am sure other individuals are looking into this matter as well. Perhaps they have made enemies from this group you're looking to seek. This Black King would likely have enemies in turn, and any volunteers would show your willingness to work with others outside of your own field. Perhaps if the humans have an issue with your non-human lineage, they could perhaps be persuaded if more or people from not your group attended your meetings or this little hunt for the Vanguard and the Black King. Or perhaps a bounty would also persuade them to help you without leading a mercenary group outside of the city and them all dying.
I'm just trying to also write about the elusive group. If you have that in notes on digital, would you mind sending it to me? If not, I'll just try and write it down real quick.
They're in a separate notebook, so I'm gonna have to send it to you probably tomorrow or in 2 hours. No, not 2 hours, 6 hours. It's part of the campaign that ran before this one, but still has ties to this one.
If I got the gist of it, Elusive and his band of rogues managed to kill Mother, but not her army.
Never found her army. Archie and his own team took her down. But basically they went their separate ways because that was the contract they had forged. The army was never found, however, afterwards. So that's still up in the air. He also, I didn't mention it before, but he does mention that there was an individual known as Daughter that they also managed to imprison. Her whereabouts currently are supposed to be on the continent that you're currently on, but on the coastline. But he has no current information about her as of now. The last person that knew her whereabouts were 3 individuals. One, unfortunately, passed away a long time ago, known as Ku Akura, he states. Another individual was known as, let me pronounce this correctly, Grimlatch. I didn't probably pronounce that correctly. And the third was known as Malcolm Arkwright. They are on your continent, but unfortunately, he does state one has been found, not found, but one has been declared deceased. So if you find these individuals, they could perhaps give you more information. He then states, I can provide you with what I know, but they would have more information pertaining to your current situation. Malcolm is a little off, but he does belong to this area known as the Forbidden Zone, if you're familiar with it.
I've heard about it, yes.
It's possible you can find him there, or find some individual that could lead you to him, and perhaps your actual target.
Would you be willing to share this information with the court via your words as well? Because while I am a part of the police department, as I said before, there have been some people that seem particularly listen to me at this point. If you're busy, I can understand, but I would be most gracious right now if you could.
Give me about 5 minutes and I can do so. The headmaster looks towards you and goes, I can provide you with a stone that allows you to contact him, but it will be a one-time use.
If you would, that would be very helpful. I do have the sending spell, but I have limited uses of it.
Right. He then brings out a stone and infuses a connection with him. Call him when you deem it necessary, but it will be, again, one-time use. Archie then states, alright then, regardless of any of that, I will bring in any information I can remember or have stored away.
Thank you ever so much. I'm sorry for this, but as someone from Lynn with this situation going on, I couldn't simply let that Lynn might come under this sort of situation fly by. If we can cut it by its target.
Perhaps you're helping me vanquish some ghosts from the past. So think nothing of it. But if you'll excuse me, I do have to get the note prepared.
We would thank him again and say that she has to go back and basically bolt back to court.
Okay, you bolt back to court roughly 5 minutes beforehand. So far you're primary candidates, but I probably would suggest Archie as one of the 5. We have, though, Hugh, Polly, Caitlin's daughter.
And Caitlin's husband, apparently.
Leaf,
Wait, the daughter was a meme.
Claire. The daughter disappears. Cove.
Is that Archie?
Rexler. That's Archie, yes. Sullivan.
Yeah.
Okay, so essentially we're now trying to prove that it's the elusive man that's responsible for this, and there shouldn't even be a question of insiders versus outsiders.
Primarily, I would, the information or the point that was suggested rather than talk about, let's call it enslavement, because that's pretty much what he was.
Basically,
towards.
what he's trying to suggest is that instead of trying to enslave the non-humans, we should try and invite the non-humans to help out, because now they have a vendetta against this person.
As well as
So if they-
anyone willing to volunteer.
Yeah. So now that they have a reason to possibly join, if they do join, then they can't particularly say that non-humans are excluded from the situation. It's a case of giving them an option.
Alright, let's try it. So Claire nearly got killed during the attack, and she's a Section 5 member. That's pretty good, right?
Mhm.
Kov was there fighting fires. He's got reason to be in for the fight.
Give Ramon as brief of a brief down about what she's been out and doing. And just like with a kind of smile, just like, I think I have something on the trail that could help us.
Alright, you give him a quick rundown and he does state that could potentially work. However, if I had to suggest something, they would likely want us to put our nose on the grind, if you will. So we'll likely have to be a part of this manhunting team. We can't
Already
exactly
offered
leave it
Over-
alone.
part of your research department. That offer's not going anywhere anytime soon.
For the moment, I can branch out, allowing my assistant to cover for me, and personally, looking towards his children, I then stops. Really want to catch these people, and more than likely, they will tell me I have to be a part of this, so it will work out.
I can think of a few other people in this room that would like to catch him.
I'm sure these individuals have enemies or people that want money as well. So we can work with this. And in turn, we can also bring in people that may not completely trust us, but show that we are trying to do something about it. Humans, non-humans, whoever volunteers can be a part of this and show a transparency. I'm
You're
sure
just
that
not.
will,
Yeah.
I'm sure this will at least appease Walter, making sure that the non-humans just simply take care of this and show Byral's point of camaraderie. But have you all decided on the 5 individuals we should pick from? So far, we have 2 political people we can speak with, Sullivan and Archie. We have 3 individuals from the research and development department we can align with, which is Claire, Rexler, and Bleep. And we have 3 individuals from the city that we could perhaps persuade to help us, which are Holly, Cove, and Hugh. But I technically wouldn't recommend Hugh. He is useful, but he works in the shadows. If anything, he'd simply be a character witness.
I don't know, Archie, Cove, Claire. Anybody else have any ideas?
My votes are for Cove and
Votes are just for Archie and Holly.
So far,
Detective.
the detective, the fireman, and the politician. Evelyn, you still have 2 you can choose from.
I think we should have Claire because she's a part of Section 5.
Alright, that's 2 votes for her, which is 1 more than everyone else.
Like, what would you be even using Claire for, though?
She has information that can provide, but the
Who
only
was
one that...
there? Sorry.
No, you're good. She was there.
Also, that she knows specifically about, like, how the attack started, along with, like, the destruction of the revival device, stuff like that.
yeah,
Something could have happened between all of that.
she's a good pick. That was either her or Bleep for me, so she works fine.
We're trying to build up the idea that this wasn't a random attack. They wanted thing. This wasn't just terrorism.
Plans. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Dare we bring Sullivan in just
that's what I'm
because?
thinking. Like, I don't know who else in there. I guess Caitlin's husband.
Alright, that's
You
3.
might want to leave Sullivan for last, though.
No, what you're gonna basically do, you're building your case against any information that the enemy has. So right now, whoever you picked, I'm gonna do some rules, and they're basically gonna rebut anything that that the enemy, air quotes, has. So they will have either beaten his information, or you guys really screwed up.
We should just chosen all high persuasion characters. Oh no.
Yeah. I think hopefully we do well.
Well, Sullivan, or I'm not gonna call him that. He is an archfey, so that should help as well, seeing as though he's extra planar.
This is a politician from another continent. He has some high persuasion.
So is this the team?
I think so.
I'm surprised Archie's coming in, though.
Through the phone.
No, I mean, like, at all.
So he's Halliwoo's her hometown's mayor.
How
She
would-
called her hometown's mayor.
Wonder how he reacts seeing Bleep, though.
Through the phone!
Hey, FaceTime.
No FaceTime. Alright. Ignore my dudes.
Dude.
Let's see here. All right then. Actually, let's go with something a little more high tempo, but not so grand. Let's go with Swift Judgment? That seems right. Alright. Turn order is now annulled. Any last change before it begins?
Is he not bringing in anybody?
Don't worry about that.
You sure you don't want your husband here, Caitlin?
Sure, I don't want him here, or like want him here, like as in like here at all.
Oof.
I feel like the bigger question is why is he still here?
I think he's gonna lose his daughter that quickly.
The last stage of denial is acceptance.
Alright.
No, that's the last stage of grief.
Oh, that's the one. There you go.
The last stage of denial is acceptance.
I was like, wait, what?
I forgot. It's a grief because denial is one of the
Denial is-
stages.
Yeah.
Now
You're
she's
on the
not a
right
river
track.
in Egypt. But I digress. Claire then states, alright then, may Ramon's representatives come forwards. Coming into the ring, you see Claire entering inside and then gives her argument. She found individuals entering into her area. One individual managed to take her team down as they weren't really fighters but researchers. I'm gonna turn this music down because I feel like I'm speaking really loudly even though I'm not.
It's aggressive music.
It's very aggressive. I didn't mean to, it. Whatever.
I was like, oh man, I don't think this is gonna go well.
Anyways, speaking about this term, she does take about a few minutes talking about an individual that came out of nowhere with the mask, so she wasn't able to see who it was. But they took her team down, and she was the last to be taken down. She was losing consciousness, but she saw that many of her instruments and many of her devices were broken down and set on fire. While she wasn't sure, she could have sworn she saw some people take equipment and papers as well. So they were orchestrating an attack rather than some sort of sabotage towards any human endeavors. She would argue that many people helped save their lives as well as save her life, and that the police had their own way of security, yes, but they could in turn also protect people, regardless of the fact that the security system failed. In turn, the city was safe thanks to this, and in turn, her life and her team's lives were spared. Cove then enters in as one of the representatives of the firefighting volunteer firefighting volunteers. His team managed to take out a good amount of the fires, but not as many as Penny. But he doesn't say that. He was able to get help from Rauta, and after a while from Byroth as well. He would argue that they went out and saved people, found people from burning buildings, humans and the like, saved them, carried them, even though they weren't part of this city, but still contributed, still protected it. They in turn were people from this city, he would argue. It didn't matter where they came from beforehand. They were people that protected it, no matter what. They protected its people, its city, its civilians. Holly then came to the conclusion, after some time and giving the evidence, that these individuals that she fought against, protecting children within the area, were in fact homunculus-like creatures that were formed from magic in turn. These individuals were likely a subterfuge group sending out to attack certain targets. On this, she would illustrate that this attack was not such an attack on the city, but to acquire information and data, as well as hurt people and specific targets. She would argue that the things that you all did, the people that saved the city and protected its civilians, were things that needed to be done, and that the side from your side is well not perfect, did its job and were well to do. And many of the people that weren't able to do a thing should regard this matter as a priority rather than anything else. In turning away the people that could actually help you and protect you, you should look at the people that you can actually see as the enemy rather than those you can't or that are different. You wanted him last for some reason. Archie then continues on. He mentions that there was... Go ahead.
I was about to say I would use that call if that's what had to be done, to contact him and introduce him as one of the politicians from Lynn.
All right. He then does state, but I'm gonna make it clearer rather than using his voice because it's simpler. He does state there were individuals in the past that orchestrated within a different continent or group, not the people around you, but people outside in a more clandestine mean. They worked within the shadows, and the people orchestrating it were likely still in the shadows. One such being, as illustrated in the past, was the Black King. He would pertain that this group is looking to seek out perhaps the army that was never found within his own time, and that your products or byproducts were perhaps ways to help this endeavor or perhaps wake them. He does not know or understand your current predicament. Well, he understands it a little, but he does state that instead of fighting or infighting within the city, he would argue to look for these people, to have volunteers, to come as one people, a city that stands together rather than a city divided. You should work together and overcome this obstacle rather than make it the thing that tears you apart. And looking on this matter, he would state there are likely other culprits within this network system. He does mention the Vanguard as well as an individual known as Elusive, which was a person that they never found, which is likely your priority on this matter. He would suggest looking into this rather than simply fighting over who belongs here. Because if you don't, no one will be here for much longer.
We would also turn to each side and bring up the idea of, instead of perhaps singling out individuals via labour services, we could perhaps turn to a more democratic point of volunteer work. Anyone on either side who wishes to take part in this situation could offer their help.
Archie would then state, perhaps,
Join together.
as well as anyone seeking to earn a bit of coin as well. I'm sure your city's safety is worth a good amount of currency. Sullivan then enters the fray. Looks at Caitlin, looks away. He does state that people in this city, people he didn't even know protected him. While he was here to seek out his own purposes and means, mainly protect his child and bring her back. He does look towards his own councilman, which is currently at the seat. He nods and he nods in turn, and Sullivan then states, while these people protected me and the others around, they also protected humans, non-humans, and the like. Their wares, their shops, their children, anything that you would consider valuable. And in turn, those people were able to protect themselves. He would state that regardless of human, regardless of anything else you may consider beneficial to you, these people were needed. While they were different than he, they are something that is required. They are not exactly something you should frown upon or look upon in dismay or distemperament because they are different. They are simply doing their job, and even if they are different, does it really matter? And then, if no one else wants to bring anything up, Walter will take his stance.
I do a
Crone
little
will
closing statement. But... Go for it.
up from the back and just simply walk over to the left side and just say, well, if anything, your offer of offering people to help hunt down these specifics, I would like to offer my help if you would take me. Depending on how this situation goes, of course.
You do hear a few other people on both sides also agree on this matter.
And Crone will sit down on the non-human side.
I thought you were going to be funny and sit on the right side instead.
I have been tempted multiple times.
Alright. Claire then states, very well then. As those are your closing arguments, please proceed, Mr. Walter. Alright then, I'd like to bring in 1 sieve. Is that all? That should be efficient enough.
Sorry,
Yes.
was that our closing statement? Is that the last time we got to talk?
Sure. No. Yes. No. If you're gonna say something now, but that still happens. She's just gonna be on the other side.
Alright. In the words of a better man than I. Your Honor, the courtroom is a crucible, in it we burn away irrelevancies until we are left with a pure product, the truth, for all time. The decision you reach here today will determine how we regard this creation of our genius, he gestures to the city. It will reveal the kind of people we are destined to be, will reach far beyond this courtroom and this one policy, could significantly redefine the boundaries of personal liberty and freedom, expanding them for some, savagely curtailing them for others. Are you prepared to condemn us, gestures to the left side of the room, and all those who will come after us, to servitude and slavery? I'm done.
Okay. If there's no other talking points, Walter, you do have the room. Right. I'd like to bring in 1 acting surveillance agent, 1 sieve. Is that all? That should suffice. You may begin. Right. As illustrated towards prior to this, I was an acting agent of surveillance force within the R&D Section 9 department. Done and given by Donovan, as they weren't exactly I should say, non-willing participants, but that's not quite right. They didn't exactly have the forte or the panache to be a team. Individuals as they were individuals in turn. They have gone through a selective portion of members, if you will. According to my dossier, there have been a select few members that have gone different routes or have faded away into different groups as they no longer wish to work with one another. Not in pertain to one individual, but pertaining to their own thoughts and ideas. Such case examples were Mixie and I cannot find your husband. Did I archive?
Husband?
That doesn't make sense.
His name was Nesman.
No, I know, but I just wanted to see if Nesmond had a last name. Doesn't matter. And one Nesmond, as they went in towards the ancient towers and were found unconscious and attacked. They, however, recovered and are currently in the hospital, laying wait. Right now they are fine, but they have illustrated that their teamwork has not always been the best with Section 9 clientele. Another case example was when I entered the fray. One king... Oh, wait, I don't know if you went by king? No, I think you did.
By king.
One king entered into the fray and decided not to participate in the endeavors. While yes, it was a dangerous situation, it was pertaining to their not internmentship. What's it called again? Internship.
Internmentship. Just bearing them.
Which would have allowed them to do so. While it was dangerous...
People...
Go ahead.
Let's say, can people voice in at any time? Or is it just have to wait sort of thing?
It's supposed to be
it's
a have to wait sort of thing.
Okay, then Hallie, we will wait.
Alright. However, their teamwork in the mission that they had decided to forego still worked quite well. A separate division group had helped and orchestrated the endeavor to capture this slave trader, one Percival of the House Barovia, and in turn saved perhaps many lives within the city. In endeavoring to do so, however, time passed and King was placed back into the school. Entering into the fray came a few others. One Halliwoo, intern as well. She still works with the current department, but they don't seem to get along. Most of the individuals within the party seem to have clicked with one another from time to time, but they do not work unless need be. In case of report, when they were helping out the city, individual terms and calls were placed around the area. Even I was governed and sanctioned where I would be in current time, and I was helping out protecting the city, and in turn they were doing the same. While it wasn't teamwork per se, it was a working team. I would endeavor in these facts that while I am not part of their team per se, I would state that they do need work on this. But they do their job. In all things, I would suggest that we should give their argument a chance. That Ramon and his band, as well as any volunteers willing to go and defeat these people or collect a bounty from these people, would be given an option, would be given this choice. While I am not a fan of their teamwork, their team more or less does work. So in all things, this is what I've seen and surveillanced through this time. Claire then states, any rebuttals?
We would step forward and look at Gwen. This is... I will not dispute anything that Sif has just said. Our teamwork at the best of times for neutral grounds of working associations. As I'm sure you're aware, my queen, it is you that asked me to help work with Section 9. And it is because of this, because of the kindness that you showed me to my predicament, one which could have ended in much worse, even potentially my own death. Kindness that you shared, the one I wanted to repay back is why I accepted it at first. I did not see fully that the people under Section 9 were particularly the people I was working for. However, now, after this incident, as she turns to Ramon, I've had a change. I do not agree that I now would not willing to work with Section 9, just in a different department. I still want to give my all to this city, the city that's laughed with my performances on the streets, that's allowed me to learn more about magic. Now more than ever, you've shown me that there is something there that I can trust. An accident, or through just simple gestures. I want to dedicate myself to this. For someone who I also lost, who we all lost. It affects all of us as she turns to everyone in the court. Not just one side or the other. She backs down.
Go ahead and roll charisma. All right. Claire looks towards... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just for character reasons, the entire time this is one of the few times that Halliru's been not worn any makeup or anything.
All right.
And then, do we get to cross-examine?
No, these were closing statements.
Oh.
I would like to say just that before I came here, I lost my home, and this is now something I want to fight for because I feel like this place is my home.
You can say something like that, Byroth, but you can't cross-examine, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I already said my closing statement, so I was just hoping because they brought a witness as their closing statement, we'd get. But anyway.
You brought in 5.
Yeah.
I think 1 is fair for the enemy team.
They could cross-examine R5, but we don't have time for that.
Nah, I just wanted to make this a one-session thing instead of in a courtroom drama.
Yeah.
But Civ does sit. She feels awkward, so she just leaves rather than sits down.
Byroth would be giving her dirty eyes, though, because I did want to say, like, what about all that shit that we did accomplish?
Well, she did mention. She said we worked.
Yeah, she just had to be impartial, which was the thing.
Yeah, it sounds a lot better when you list it.
Oh god, I had an idea of something that Halliru could do, but I don't know if it's appropriate for court. I was just thinking that Halliru could pull out the kindness bow and try and play a song to help calm everyone's nerves. Just as after her general light, it affects all of us. Don't think that's gonna work.
I don't think you want me pulling out lust.
Yeah.
Claire does state, there has been both sides. The jury will reconvene tomorrow. In turn, you will hear the byproduct of these events. Please return if you decide to do so, otherwise, the verdict will still be in place. 24 hours pass. Those of you deciding to reconvene, those that decided not to, a few humans didn't, a few non-humans didn't as well, but a good amount did. And for brevity's sake, I am not gonna just delete people that didn't. Claire's technically on your side right now. Gwen does stand up and does state, we have come to the conclusion that both sides do present a argument case. However, the argument point is still valid. Ramon, you and people willing to volunteer on taking on these people, willing to take on the people that have killed us, people that have murdered our kin, regardless of race, regardless of fractions, whether they be Commonwealth or those higher, I surmise to you to bring in these people you are willing to work with. People that are willing to work as a team rather than individuals. To hunt down these men that have murdered our kin. To go and bring them in. As we end the session for today.